Okay to start. Thanks.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I hear it's quite late in Japan at the moment, so we're really delighted to welcome you to today's presentation. And we're really looking forward to going through what we're offering as an MBA from University of Essex, which is a well-renowned prestige program. So this is your session, so we are encouraging you and spurring you on to put some questions in the chat, and I'm more than happy to stay as long as it takes to answer anything you have. And as I say, and I reiterate, this session is for you. So please do put some questions in the chat, and I'm sure Hiroshi-san and Darshini will help field the questions to me all, and I'll do my best to answer. So my name is Samir Dis. I'm a doctoral candidate at the University of Essex, specialising in business strategy with an emphasis and focus on business transformation and change. Okay, so I teach on the MBA program, and I teach the consultancy modules, and that's mainly my focus, and that goes right across the programs, and I'll go into that later in depth with you. And my personal background is I have over a decade of experience in managing business transformation and change, from projects all the way up to about $31 million or down to about $60,000. I did my undergrad at Essex, so I've been here for quite some time, and then I progressed on to do my MBA, which is the journey that hopefully you all will go on, and then I'm going to do my doctoral degree. So that's a little bit about me. Darshini is also on the call as part of the Essex team, and she's been wonderful to set up this session for us all today. So thank you, Darshini. Okay. All right. So there's no worries at all. Okay, shall we go on to the next slide, Darshini, with the agenda? So we've done a little bit around a quick intro, but I'll say that one of the things about Essex Business School that I'd like to really emphasize is that we're definitely the first zero carbon business school building that's been created. So we have a very strong emphasis on sustainability, but also it's about preparing our leaders for a future where they're fully equipped with the skills and capabilities that they have, but also being responsible leaders. And that's something that we're very passionate about, down to the very fabric of our building and how it's built, down to the culture that we have at the University of Essex. So we're here to talk a little bit around, why Essex University and why the business school. And we're also here to talk about why this MBA program. And then we'll go on to a little bit, and my colleague Nick on the call will talk about the differences between the MBA and other master's degrees. And then we'll look at, after you've really engaged and put in your questions, I'll do my level best to answer any Q&As at the end. Is there anything else that I've missed there, Darshini, that you'd like to add? Or
no, we're all good.
Cool. All right, next slide. Thank you very much. Okay, so why Essex University? Well, a lot of MBA programs are quite expensive, and they're quite expensive because they are taught by generally practitioners as well as academics as well, so you get a hybrid of the two, and that's what makes the MBA program quite different from other programs, and that's usually reflected in the tuition fees that one would be expected to pay. But also, depending on where you study in the country, prices can vary in terms of accommodation. One of the fantastic things about Essex University is that the prices compared to other programs that are out there is much more competitive. And because, I'll go on to the accreditation in a second, but because we're quite internationally renowned, you get something that is quite easier for most people to be able to afford, whilst also having a really high quality educational experiences, and also access to London. So just to put it into perspective, it's a 48-minute train ride to London. I'm going there today, so I know the train times. And so you can it's really easy to be able to get into the city to be able to then do your business networking and really maximize the opportunities post-graduation for you to seek what career opportunities and experiences are available for you. Me personally, on an individual level, I travel to London quite often for business meetings, and so for me, it's a very easy train ride and very easy accessibility wise. Okay. Also, in addition to that, one of our merits of our program is that we have people who come in, and I will talk about director workshops later, but we have workshops and modules where it's taught by practitioners. So quite often it's not uncommon to have guest speakers from top consultancies like Deloitte, KPMG, McKinsey, and PwC. We have former vice presidents of organizations come in, and what they try to do is talk about some of the real challenges their businesses face, and they put it to the candidates to see if they can really test their knowledge and their capabilities to try and resolve and draw all of those insights and coaching and training that they have from the MBA program to solve real world business problems. So that's one of our things that we're very proud about at the Essex University. Some of our modules are very immersive and experience-based as well, and I'll go into that a little bit more later. So keep that in the back of your mind for now, I guess. The access to the Innovation Centre and startups. Well, one of the things that the Essex Business School prides itself on is the fact that we're supporting businesses and entrepreneurs. So let's say, for example, you have a business idea, but you really need some support in developing that idea. We've had previous candidates who have developed applications, for example, or AI projects, or web-based platforms like online retail stores, and the Innovation Centre has a series of expertise available to you to really help support you in putting a business plan together and trying to achieve funding for your business idea. In terms of dedicated study space, of course, I mentioned before, it's a zero carbon business school, but the library is one of the best in the country in that the resources you have are very vast and the study spaces are quite broad. So we have everything from the sort of tech startup-like cafes to cafes inside the business school, and several study spaces that have a lot of technology infrastructure. So for group work and individual study, it's very versatile. And that's one thing that I think is definitely different from other business schools as well. Darshini, is there anything else you wanted to add?
You've got it all covered.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so next slide, please, Darshini. Okay, so we spoke about, well, I signposted a little bit around the accreditation. So we have two accreditations. One is the Associations of the MBA, and the other one is the AACSB. And these are, if broadly speaking, hallmarks of quality. Now, to put it in perspective, AMBA only release a certain amount of certifications of its kind to select business schools across the world. And we are very lucky that actually we've been included within that cohort, let's say. Now, it's worth noting that AMBA only put a cap on how many certifications they release. So I attended the AMBA Awards myself, and there are top universities there that actually receive, best business school or best entrepreneurial mindset and things of the like. And we are currently a candidate for one of those awards there. So it's a hallmark of quality. So when you look at an AMBA course, you will look at the faculty to student rate or candidate ratio. So sometimes some universities will have 20-1 or 10-1 in terms of the lectures availability. So having an AMBA accreditation can also mean that you can look forward to being able to spend a certain amount of time with your lecturers or with your practitioners to be able to ask them for individual coaching advice, whereas some institutions may not have that level of resource that we have, and therefore you may not be able to as easily access those things. There are several, I won't go into all of the tenets of AMBA, but I think it would be something that I would encourage you all to venture off and research. Certainly when I did my MBA, it was one of my criteria. So we're very proud that we've got that for the next 5 years. So I think with the AACSB, this stands for business. It's about how connected you are as a business. So it's a hallmark of quality. So this was referred to, the AACSB is a hallmark of quality whereby if, for example, you're going to different universities, you will see that there are different accreditations that mean different things. For example, if you attend one of our MSc programs, you'll find that it is CIPD accredited, and that's the HR program. And that's because in the UK, you generally need a CIPD to practice HRM. And so therefore, you will be looking for a particular type of accolade that's juxtaposed to your particular course. So the AACSB is similarly, I would also encourage you to go to the website and have a look at the credentials of the certification, because it might be something that speaks to you and it might not be. With HR, it's very specific. With accounting, there's a different accreditation. And with the AACSB, it's more of a hallmark of quality that's more general rather than specific. And that means that we're a double accredited university. I don't want to labour on these 2 points too much because I know that candidates will want to do their own research into it because it will mean different things to different people in terms of what they're looking for as well. But I would certainly encourage you to research it more. Okay. Next slide, please. So we'll dive a bit into the modules now. If we go to the next slide, because it's a holding slide, I think. Okay, right. So what usually happens across all of the modules is, let's say, for example, you're studying finance, okay? You will usually have 4 days of that module across the week, and Wednesdays are usually kept as a free day. The reason being is because we understand that MBA programs are quite intense. So whilst you may be studying for 2 days straight from 10 till 5, which is quite a long day, and it's quite pressured as you would expect an MBA program to be, it's important to leave the Wednesday free so that you have time to reflect on the module and be able to absorb all of the teachings that you've had. But also, let's say you cover some topics on the Monday and Tuesday and you think, do you know what, I'd really benefit by arranging a session with the lecturer, for example, who provided the coaching for that session, then it gives you the space and the opportunity to be able to have that time available. But if you were 10 till 5 every single day, that might be something that you would probably struggle with in arranging, of course. In addition, there are many different amenities that the University of Essex offer in terms of the career service, library services and other things of the like that you may want to be involved with. So having that day free means that you can organise your time to balance both what the programme has to deliver for you, but also then fully leverage the opportunities that you have at the University of Essex, as well as being able to have a day for business networking as well, which I think is quite useful. There are other programs that don't do this, so I think this is something that's quite sensible and wise about our program that I'd like to particularly highlight. When it comes to the assignments and the examinations, typically speaking, you will attend one module for 1 week. You will normally have a group presentation that you are assessed on, and that typically accounts for 25% of the overall mark that you'll have for that particular module. In addition, you will usually have a coursework assignment, which accounts for 75%. And that would usually be very practitioner based. So for example, you will take a lot of the insights that have been imparted in the week from the particular subject matter, and it will ask you, considering a real business case or a case that you've had in your experience, please apply some of the learnings to that, and it will be something around that type of structure, okay? And that way we can balance both what it would be like in a real life experience whereby you would be presenting in a group or professionally presenting in front of an audience as a leader going forward, as well as being able to have an individual piece where you will be expected to submit, most likely in your career at some point, a business report and things of the like. So it's supposed to simulate those two. And that submission for the assignment, which accounts for 75%, is usually a week after you've done the module. And that gives you enough time, including the weekend after the module, to be able to reflect, to do any relevant background preparation that you need before executing that assignment. Okay? Please, everybody, before I move on to the next slide, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. It's absolutely fine. And it might be that you haven't fully formulated your question yet, but you have a sort of question around a particular aspect of what I've discussed. And that's okay. Just put it in there and we can have a discussion about it afterwards. Okay, so next slide, please, Darshini. Okay, so what do you actually study? Well, on the left, you have the compulsory modules. Every candidate will go through all of those modules. I won't go through each individual one of those, but you're more than welcome to ask any specific questions about those and we'll do our best to answer. But as you can see, there's a lot of variation there, and these are typically the modules that you would have on an MBA program. Other programs would be very similar to this, and that is pretty standard for MBAs across the country and across the world as well, with slight variations, of course. So as you can see, there's a slight variety of both the quantitative and qualitative aspects of business, and it's supposed to provide you with a more holistic, rounded approach as a leader going into organizations in the future. It doesn't mean that you have to know all of these topics extraordinarily in depth like you would do at a doctoral degree, for example. But what it does is it provides you with a holistic approach to business, whereby if you stand in a board meeting with chief executives, you will be able to have a conversation very diligently about these topics and be able to understand them very well. Okay, so on the left, the compulsory modules are the modules that everybody will be required to attend and complete. In the optional modules, you may choose one selection out of the optional modules. Okay, and so you could choose social entrepreneurship, consulting and organization, supply chain management, digital marketing, and growing a sustainable business. Different candidates come on the program for different reasons. They have all different backgrounds. So having a variety of optional modules means that you can really build upon the compulsory modules, your solid foundation, and then hone your specialism into a particular area. And the optional modules give you the opportunity and the variety of selection and choice to do that. Okay? There are some candidates who come from a very digital marketing background. We had one candidate who had an online retail store on Shopify, and she did drop shipping. So for her, digital marketing would have been her preference, whereas there are others who've worked in supply chain and logistics, for example, for companies like Toyota and things of the like. So they tend to gravitate more towards the supply chain management. And there are others, and it's very common on an MBA program, where they attend the compulsory modules and say, do you know what? I've never really been in strategic marketing before, but I really like that. And now I'm considering a career change. So maybe I'll take digital marketing, whereby I would have taken supply chain management before. That's not uncommon either. So we are expecting you to go through the course and have an open mind and to be swayed. In the final box, let's call it at the bottom, you'll notice there is business planning week and consultancy week. I'll come on to the other three in a moment. But the business planning week and the consultancy week are two modules that you will have to either choose one or the other. So you may choose business planning week or you may choose consultancy week. So what is the difference between the two? The business planning week, in a nutshell, in a summary, is you will purchase a business on the first day, on Monday, and you will go all the way through the week, and then you will try to sell that business on the Friday. It is a very immersive, practice-based experience. And I would say that both consultancy week and business planning week are what most candidates regard as the highlight of the year. It brings together all of your learnings across the MBA, both your optional modules and your compulsory modules, to have a practice-based incubator immersion experience. And that means that you will go through a very different experience from these two modules that you would do from the others. Consultancy week, however, is where you have a client bid. So a client has given you a problem by the beginning of the week, and you will all work in groups to be able to deliver the solution by the end of the week. So again, the business planning is you buying a business and working in groups at the beginning of the week, and then selling the business at the end of the week. And the consultancy week is a client challenge that they're facing, and you delivering the consultancy solution at the end of the week. In business planning week, you'll be all operating as individual businesses in your groups. And you'll be thrown a lot of challenges and a lot of surprises, and you're going to have to be able to move and use your wits about you to be able to try and solve each of those challenges that they come at you. In the consultancy week, you're going to be tested in terms of your emotional resilience and your leadership skills and your reflexive capacity. And throughout the week, you'll be also thrown a few surprises as well. And you'll be tested on how you come together and work through those problems as well. I won't go too much into depth into those, but if you have any questions, again, more than happy to answer them, and please put them in the chat. At the end of the year, you will have a choice between three options: the business plan, the consulting project, which is different from consultancy week, or the dissertation, which is a desk-based research project. The business plan is you creating a business. Where we have seen this receive a lot of traction and popularity is those candidates who join the MBA who are really passionate about starting their own business. So for them, the business plan is something that they feel really like they want to gravitate towards, naturally speaking. And that involves you generating your business idea and planning everything about it. What do I mean by everything? I mean the strategic positioning of that idea, your finances, your operations, how you're going to take it to market with your marketing strategy. And then you'd be able to produce that business plan, and then you would submit that business plan as your final submission. The consulting project is where you will either be provided with or you will source your own consultancy projects. So there might be a business, for example, that's experiencing a particular challenge, and you choose to then work with that business by providing a project proposal and delivering a set of recommendations as a solution to try and address their challenges, which is also a very popular choice by MBA candidates. There is also a third option, and this is the dissertation. This is more academically focused. So with the dissertation, you will be looking at a particular piece of research or a series of research, and you'll be looking to make a very novel contribution to what's out there already. So if there's a lot of talk, let's say, about a particular subject matter, and that could relate to one of the topics that you studied across your MBA, you will spend your time investigating a particular topic or matter in depth, and you will be taking an academic approach to that. A lot of candidates who go towards the dissertation choice are generally going towards it because maybe they see that there's a future for them in a more academic setting, and so therefore they may want to consider doing maybe a PhD afterwards, or an academic master's afterwards, and so that tends to be the reasoning, or the common reasons that I come across anyway, as to why candidates want to choose that option. So I hope that has provided a general overview in terms of what all this stuff on all this information on the slide means. But again, please put your questions in the chat. Okay. Should we go on to the next slide, Darshini? Unless I've missed anything, then please, obviously. Yeah. Okay. So what do we have? Let's go a bit further in depth into the consultancy week and the business planning week. So the directors' workshops first. So across the whole program, there are times when people from industry come into the Essex Business School, and they usually do 1 or maybe sometimes 2-day workshops. And this enables candidates to be able to get really good practice-based experience from people who are out there, not in the business school setting, and who are facing real challenges. And also, we have people who are coaches. So we have people who, for example, teach you public speaking skills, or we have people doing career development, more career development focused workshops. And that could be anything from interview skills to professional development to just public speaking, like I mentioned before. Sometimes we have some personality tests, which are scientific metrics that psychologists use that make you aware of, what those are and whether you want to use those sorts of things in your career. So it really helps add a added flavour to the MBA outside of the module setting for you to be able to network with people in industry. And sometimes, and quite often is the case, we have found that those networks that you build then lead on to consultancy projects later on down the line as well. So this adds a good variety to the course in that sense. The consultancy week and the business planning week I've covered already, but what I would like to emphasize is that all of these practice-based flavors of the program really enable you to not only understand the knowledge of the subjects that you study through your program, but give you a real chance to be able to deploy them in practice and receive feedback from practitioners. And in that way, it's not just about, okay, I understand, or I have a wealth of knowledge content that I've covered, but you actually have the opportunity and chance to deploy those things, because we take a very learning by doing approach. And then also you get feedback from practitioners as well as having the wonderful feedback from the academics as well. So it's quite a nice balance in that way. So it's that practice-based learning, and then being able to get feedback from that helps you inevitably develop your professional behaviours as well. And that builds on the knowledge and skills you get from across the program. So I kind of hope you see how that all fits together there. Okay, thank you, Darshini. I think on the next slide is any questions, I guess.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes here. I'm more than happy to try my best to answer.
何かご質問ある方いらっしゃいますか？もしございましたら、チャットボックスに書いていただいても大丈夫ですし、マイクで喋っていただいても大丈夫ですけど、いかがでしょうか？
If there aren't any questions now, maybe we can go to the next slide and start with Nick.
Sure.
And then we can take questions towards the end. That's all right?
Yeah, thank you, Darshini, and thank you, Hiroshi-san.
Great. Moving on to Nick.
Thank you, Darshini. Hello, all. My name is Dr. Nicholas Rowe. I'm a lecturer in finance here at Essex Business School, and so I'm here to help kind of clarify some of the distinctions between the Master's of Business Administration program versus some of our other master's programs here at the business school. And these distinctions that I'm going to be making here are fairly general because we've tried to structure our programs in accordance with best practices in the business school across business schools worldwide. So Darshini, would you mind going to the next slide?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so at every business school that you might even consider attending, you'll often see entries for a Master's of Business Administration versus subject specific master's degrees. And if you're unfamiliar, with these sorts of distinctions, you might be like, well, what's the difference between these two? If they're both master's degrees, are they the same? Does one matter more than the other? And the answer is yes, depending on what you want to do, right? These degrees have been built, right, with different individuals in mind, with different levels of experience, that with different career aspirations, right, that are looking to do different things. And so if we want to get a clear idea about what these key distinctions are, the best way to think about it is thinking of a generalist focus versus a specialist focus, right? So the MBA is focused on individuals that are looking to make it into senior leadership eventually. And so as a result, the structure of the program is going to be focused on making sure that individuals have had a broad-based grounding, right, in sort of business practices and principles across the different various focus areas within business. Whereas subject master's programs are designed to help educate you in more advanced analytical and technical methods that are going to enable you to take on positions of responsibility within a particular function, right? And so similarly, because these focuses are different, who these degrees are targeted at also tends to be different, right? If you are interested in, pursuing, a master's of business administration, typically schools, and Essex is no different, are looking for, an individual that is, somewhere in between, the early stages of their career, in the middle stages of their career, typically with 3 to 5 years of business experience, right? And business experience that is can broadly be considered a type of leadership experience. So we're looking for, experiencing managing people or managing programs or budgets, right? But the idea is that we think that this program is going to service you best if you already have some experience under your belt working in leadership and observing how organizations and businesses function. We're designing our education so as to complement, right, the experiences you already come to our program with, right? By contrast, subject-specific master's programs are typically focused and aimed at prospective students, right, that are earlier on in their careers, right? So you might be only a couple years out at most, right, out of a bachelor's program, or alternatively, right, you may be trying to make a pretty discrete and distinct career change, right? And so subject-specific master's programs are designed to help shore up your skills, right, in a critical area, right, to help you both substantively make sure that you know the things you need to know if you're interested in doing more technical roles in something like finance or accounting, but also to help certify for potential employers that you're definitely qualified to handle more advanced responsibilities, right? And so here we see again the distinction in terms of skills development, right? MBA programs, right, and again, Essex is no different, are kind of focused on integrating the synthesis, all these different functions of a business coming together, right? Because again, the idea is we're training you to be, a C-suite role, be a COO, a CEO, etc. We want you to be able to take in information that are coming from all areas and components of a business, right? And be able to take all that information and transform it into well-founded strategic decision-making. If in the context of the subject-specific master's program, we're wanting to make sure that you can do the more highly advanced analytical or technical techniques that are required to generate actionable information in the context of that role, right? So if we're talking about finance, right, which is my area, right, we're going to teach you, advanced methods of data analysis, of portfolio analysis, right, so that when you leave, right, you will definitely be able to handle most of the more highly technical functions that are going to come with roles in a finance or treasury function. And so typically, right, when we think about should you do one or the other? And again, it depends on what your career aspirations are, right? And it depends where you are in your career, right? If you are someone that has this sort of, in this early to mid-career phase, you've already had some years of management or leadership experience under your belt, and you want more, but you're looking, right, for a little bit more of a formal training in how do I kind of bring all of these skills of mine together to make better decision making. The MBA is best for you. If by contrast, right, you are in an earlier stage of your career and wanting to tool up your skills, right, and show potential employers that how to do the types of analyses they need you to do for a very specific function, right? If you're interested long term in taking up positions of responsibility and authority over these more technical functions, then the subject specific master's programs are going to be better for you. Because of the generalist approach of the MBA, right, you don't necessarily need to worry about, is this program going to be appropriate for me if I want to work in this specific industry? Because the idea here is we are training business leaders, and we're training business leaders irrespective of what particular industry that you want to go in. When it comes to the subject-specific master's programs, it's slightly different because in certain cases, by the very nature of the degree, right? For instance, again, in finance, right? The degree is probably going to be more useful, right? Potentially in certain industries, right? Or in certain roles, right? And so, I think finance is probably the clearest idea of a subject area where it's going to be more useful if you're interested in doing more technical work in finance and investment. However, it can also be useful if you're interested in working corporate treasury functions, right, across industries. Similar so for programs like marketing and accounting, right? It's going to be, because of the narrow focus, it's going to make you more competitive for positions with responsibility in a specific business function. So in short here, right, these are different types of programs, right, that are designed to help get you where you need to go, but they're but it really depends on where it is that you want to go, when you're choosing between these two programs and what stage you are in your career. If you're more in the mid-range stage of your career and you're wanting to kind of solidify your chances at kind of rising up the corporate ladder and taking positions with more and more responsibility, MBA is best for you. If you're earlier on in your career and you're wanting to really underscore, right, to potential employers that, you're the right person to trust with more technical analyses, you should be given more responsibility when it comes to specific business functions, then subject-specific masters might be more appropriate for you. Can we go to the next slide, Darshini? To give you an idea of what this looks like, right, in a more logistical sense, you can see here from our handy overview. Sorry, I'm just trying to manage my display in Zoom. Here we go. So the MBA is really looking for individuals, like I said, that are in the middle ranges of their career, with 3 to 5 years of managerial work experience or experience, managing programs, etc. For our master's programs, typically, we're looking for a bachelor's degree, right? And, depending on the master's, sometimes we don't necessarily need work experience. Typically, they tend to be between 1 to 2 years, with the idea being that, we like it when individuals have more work experience. We typically find that individuals in our subject-specific master's programs end up doing better if they have that work experience, because then, when they're learning these concepts in the classroom, they've already seen them outside in the business world, so they tend to do better. But again, it's not necessary. When we're talking about subject-specific masters, they exist under 5 broad umbrellas that kind of correspond to the various aspects of business functions, right? So accounting, business and management, marketing, finance and banking, and entrepreneurship. Under each of these 5 big umbrellas, there are different master's programs that give you essentially different treatments of function and analysis within an area. So in the context of finance and banking, which is my area, right, there are master's degrees that focus more on the data analytics side, right, to kind of help individuals, right, that are looking to do financial analysis, but in a context where, being able to conduct rigorous data analysis is going to be helpful. There are master's programs, for instance, in investment and wealth management, right? So for those individuals that are looking to kind of go into, wealth management or portfolio management, right? The emphasis is more broadly on that. And so why am I talking about the distinct programs within each of these subject areas? The idea here is that, if you are still making up your mind about what type of degree is best for you, and you, in listening to me, have decided maybe you might be in the earlier stages of your career and that a subject-specific master's might work best for you, then understand that within each of these 5 different areas, right, there are going to be different master's programs that are catered towards a particular career trajectory. And so I think this is helpful, right, because when you are making a decision about what graduate program or indeed any university program that you're going to enroll in, I think it's very helpful to think about, what do I expect, or what do I want to get out of this degree in the terms of a career prospects, in terms of a career trajectory, right? And so the MBA is sort of very clear. If you're going for an MBA, then you want more responsibility. You eventually want to be running companies, right? If that's not where you are and you're thinking about a more particular type of career or a particular type of function, then it might be useful to kind of investigate the different subject-specific masters that we have under each of these 5 umbrellas, because you might end up finding a master's that seems more in agreement with your ultimate and overall career aspirations. So this is sort of the end of my little Nick's philosophy on thinking about business master's programs in terms of MBAs versus subject-specific masters. I think we can go to the next slide for any questions, if that's okay, Darshini.
Yeah. So I can already see a question on the chat box. We do have a couple of questions. So we have a question from, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Is it Chi? Do you require experience as a manager for the MBA? Or if a candidate only takes a leading position in a couple of projects, do you consider it as leadership experience? I can speak. So I may not have have had the chance to introduce myself earlier, so I'm just going to introduce now. My name is Darshini. I'm the Senior Marketing and Recruitment Officer at the Essex Business School. And I'm also the MBA Recruitment Manager. So this is more of a question, I would say, something to do with admissions because it involves entry requirements. So when you apply for the MBA program, we take a look at your CV and we will look for at least 3 years of work experience where you have had either project management, budget management, or people management. So if you can demonstrate this on your CV with a minimum of 3 years of work experience, then you've passed the first stage of our admission requirement. I hope that helps. So a couple of projects, yes, if you can put that on your CV, and then you will be invited for an interview. And then if you can further describe in the interview about your leadership experience, or even in that project management, what are the type of the specifics of it in the interview would be really useful for us to see your eligibility for the program. I hope that answered the question. Samir, did you want to add anything?
Oh, I just wanted to say to Chi, well, she said it already, but I just wanted to say if there's anything else that we described there that you felt, oh, that made me think of another question, please ask. And thank you for confirming that it has answered your question, which was going to be my next comment. I did answer your question, okay? So that's all really. But I agree with everything Darshini said. From a practitioner point of view, there are many employees and colleagues who work in different industry sectors who have had fantastic opportunities to be empowered to lead certain projects and teams. And that would be certainly leadership experience. And as Darshini said, it will be something that would be considered at the application stage. So please do not let that dissuade you if you haven't had a formal, like, oh, I'm a senior manager for 3 years, you know, so please don't let that dissuade you. Okay.
Thanks. So we have another question. I think somewhere you can take this. Can you please provide examples of consultancy projects, which industry and what kind of challenges to solve?
Sure.
Also business plan module examples of what kind of business ideas are explored before.
Okay, so I'm going to assume by the consultancy projects, you mean the end of year project that individuals do and not the consultancy week. But if I'm wrong, then please correct me. It's absolutely fine, and I'll answer for both. So with the consultancy projects, they're varied. So there may be a consultancy project where you may be working for a consultancy and maybe they have an issue. So for example, there's one management consultancy at the moment that develops AI applications to transform business operations. And because they're quite a newly formed tech startup, one candidate is working with them to see how they can grow sustainably and how they can embed some of their practices to make sure that they have structure to what they're doing, because at the moment they're quite entrepreneurial. There are other companies which are operations or logistics focused, for example. For example, I'm sorry, I saw the heart that you gave those, Ashley. So there are other companies as well that are London based. So there are some higher education institutions that are experiencing issues. I know there's one particular candidate 2 years ago who worked with a tech consultancy in London who were dealing with an international logistics firm and who were headquartered in France. And they were doing a bit of a consultancy project for them that would then be translated for their client as well. So it really does vary in terms of the consultancy projects that you can get, and they are not industry agnostic in that sense. But please, Sean, if that's not enough and you need more examples or you need me to go into more depth or I've misunderstood your question, please come back to me and feel free to elaborate and I'll do my best. In terms of the business planning module examples, so at the beginning of the week, you'll be provided with a business which was a real business. And that business will have a particular financial situation, let's call it. And you as a business yourself with your group will come in and you're trying to bid for that business, very much like you see on Shark Tank in America or Dragon's Den in the UK. And you will try to negotiate with the business owner on how much you can buy that business for. And your job is to try and get it as low as possible, of course, for the least amount of money. And then throughout the week, every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, represents a financial quarter of your business. And you will be thrown challenges such as disgruntled employees that you might have to hold a disciplinary meeting for. or you might have to, for example, develop a marketing strategy on how you would grow the business across the year. And through all of these types of practice-based tasks and challenges that you will face, at the end of the week, which will be the equivalent of 1 year's worth of business trading, you will then meet with investors, again like in Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, and say, we bought a business at the beginning of the year, and look at all these wonderful things that we've done to grow it, and now we're coming to you to try and sell that business to you investors today. So I've been very, very high level here, because I don't want to, some of it is the surprises that you encounter across the week. I don't want to give away too much, but that's generally the feel of the business planning week. And I hope that gives you a bit more insight into what you were looking for. But please let me know, of course, if it doesn't. Okay.
Thank you, Samuel. So next question, I've already answered this question, but I'm just going to say it as well. Does the university offer MBA intakes only in October? So yes. We no longer provide the January intake for MBA. So now we only have one intake per year, which is every October. Moving on to the next question from Hiroshi. Are there any scholarships available for international students? Yes, of course. So for the MBA, we have the MBA Dean's Award. So from a minimum of 10% scholarship up to 100% scholarship opportunities are available. We do have a scholarship allocation every year just for MBA program. So it's worth up to £400,000. So I'm speaking for the 2024 intake. So anything that's mentioned here for 2025, we do not have the information yet. But based on previous information for MBA, we've always had the MBA Dean's Award. You will be automatically considered once you've applied for the program, and of course, subject to interview performance. So that's for the MBA. If you're interested in other master's programs, MSc Finance, Marketing Management, we also have the Vice Chancellor Global Talent Scholarship provided by the university, up to 50% tuition fees waiver. And then we also have Academic Excellence Scholarship. But again, information for 2025 will be confirmed nearer to time. This is based on what we had this year and for the previous years. But definitely, we will have scholarships for international students.
I think, Darshini, what I'll do is I'll put some links in the chat now for those on our website with some useful information that everybody can look up.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And that would just signpost what Darshini was just referring to.
Thanks. Thank you. There's another question from Okuda. Can I take the course online? Now, our programs are all designed for you to be on campus. It's on-campus learning. We do have some classes where we have Zoom sessions, but they're not a fully online delivered program. Even whether it's MBA or the other specific master's programs, they're all delivered on campus. If you're unwell, if you can't make it to classes, we obviously have options for you to catch up with classes. So we use a platform called Listen Again, where classes will be recorded and you can rewatch them. But if you meant distance learning, we unfortunately don't have that option at the moment. Hope that answered the question.
Quite a lot of the times with the international candidates, they really do appreciate the fact that the lectures are recorded online so they can revisit them later. So that's something that's usually quite celebrated. So. Okay. Any other questions? So we've covered a lot during the session, and I'm going to do something that I do on the MBA. So to give you a bit of an experience, I'm going to take 60 seconds where Darshini and I and Nick are going to stay completely silent. And this time is going to enable you to just reflect on all the things that you've asked, all of the things that have been presented, and give you that thinking space for any last questions or thoughts that might pop into your mind that you want to pop into the chat. So we're going to go quiet for about 60 seconds just to give you some time to just think. And then if there's no more questions, Darshini will draw and Hiroshi-san will draw the session to a close. So I'm just going to put my microphone on mute a second. Okay, I think we have 2 more questions that have come through, Darshini, which is fantastic.
Yes. So from Hiroshi, what is the average age of MBA? I think he means the age of candidates on the MBA
Yes.
cohort, and also what business field do MBA students come from? Samir, do you want to take that?
Yes, fine. So the average age of MBA programs in general, and ours is no exception to the rule in that sense, is about 33, with candidates ranging from, I think, 25 would be normally the youngest that I've seen myself anyway in my experience at Essex, all the way up to about 55, I think. So you get quite a wide variety of individuals. And insofar as the business fields, we've had people who are business owners. We have people who are associate partners at law firms. We have people who are entrepreneurs who've really built a sustainable business. We've got some candidates from PwC this year. We have people who are at the director level. We have people at middle management. We have people who have had some leadership experience, but are really looking to be a senior leader after the course. So it really does vary, actually. And I think that enables also, I would like to add, a really good perspective. So if I then say to the candidates in the room, here's a live business problem, what do you think? You actually really get a good cross-section of how people view it at different levels in an organization, but also in an industry agnostic way, let's call it. So I hope that gives you an idea about that. Okay, so do you provide a work placement during the MBA or MSc? I'd probably have to defer to Nick's judgment on the MSc. With the MBA, we do provide support for you to be able to make industry connections, but we don't do work placements as such. And what we mean by that is we will never say to a candidate, oh, here's an organization, you're going to work with this organization for 2 weeks. However, that being said, with the industry connections that we do have, there have been many candidates who have secured placements, just to let you know. And Darshini, have I missed anything there?
So that was what I was going to say. We do not have a work placement option, but just like what you said, we do have the support and then networking events that we do, and students are able to use our career service team as well. And we have the Essex startup, so we have all of the resources and support available on campus for you to be able to secure placement. But this is something not embedded in the program. Yeah. Nick, did you want to say something about the work placement? Okay. I just want to also stress, so work placement. So all of our master's degree offered at the Essex Business School, this is for all of the masters, yeah? They're all delivered, it's within a year duration. So I know some US universities, they may have it 2 years, so they do 1 year of studies and 1 year of work placement. So I'm not sure if that's where you're coming from the question, but we do not have, because it's a 1 year duration, and then you've got 180 credits to complete. And if you take a look at the structure of the program, the modules and dissertation, there's no time for you to do a work placement. So that's just not how the syllabus or the course is structured. So no, but we do have the career service team, a dedicated team just to support students with placements. We let you know these are the exclusive opportunities available. You have access to our Career Hub platform where you can get to go for more information about placements. So support is there, but it's not embedded in the program for MBA and for masters as well. For undergraduate, it's different. So work placement can be embedded in an undergraduate program for our business school, but not for the masters.
Thank you.
The next question would be, how high should our English level have to be to enroll? This is from Yui Day. So if English isn't your first language, so if you're coming from Japan, from the other side of the world, then we have an English language qualification requirement. So it's usually IELTS, if you're familiar with it, or anything equivalent to IELTS. So I think it's TOEFL, PTE. We've got a few equivalent qualifications that we can accept. So it's usually IELTS 6.5, but the component requirement may differ depending on the programs. So some programs we ask for IELTS 6.5 overall with no components less than 5.5. And for some programs, we ask for IELTS 6.5, no components less than 6.0. But all of this information, we're very transparent. All of this information are available on our website for each program and how it differs. So if you can let me know which program you're looking for, I can let you know. Or if you want to go on the website to look for different programs, it's all available there under entry requirements. I hope that answered your question, Vijay.
And I'm just going to put a link in the chat for you so you can have a look at the link where that information features, just so you know, okay?
Thank you so much. You beat me to that.
No worries, no worries. It's always easier because sometimes you think, oh, I've got to go and look for this. I don't know where to look. So if I just give you the link, then at least everybody can sort of do a copy and paste job and have a look in their own time. I will say, you know, one of the things that one of the reasons why I decided to continue my development at the University of Essex is because everybody here, like Darshini, like Nick, are very easily reachable. If you just go onto the Essex website and you type in our names, you can send us an email, and Darshini is really great at just jumping on a call and having a conversation with people. So always feel like you can reach out to us and say, hi Darshini, hi Samir, I attended the meeting, I wanted to ask a question, hi Nick, you know, and we are really, really open to just jumping on the call with you and answering any questions as best as we can. Or if we can't, we'll say, do you know what, you could probably find that in this link, or this is the person you need to speak to. Because I know that this process, if you've never done it before, it's a bit daunting. You don't know where to go. You don't know who to speak to. Sometimes you don't even know what questions you should be asking. So you could even call Darshini or Nick or myself and say, I really want to apply, but I don't know where to start. What would you advise? And they're really great at really jumping on the call and giving you that more of that guidance. So please always do feel free to do that. We're very, very open at Essex. Okay.
Yeah, it's just about to say.
There you go.
very much. はい。他に何かご質問ある方いらっしゃいますか？今日のですね、チャットの方に、いろいろなリンクを、エセックス大学の方載せてくださったと思うんですけれども、これからちょっと Zoom のミーティング閉じてしまうと、チャットですね、多分すべて消えてしまうかなと思いますので、ちょっと必要な箇所についてはですね、ご自身でコピーですね、メモ取っておいていただくことを、お勧めいたしますね。はい。そうですね。Any student interested in your university, who can they contact to? Like, can they contact to you, Dashini, or any international office or any contact?
Yeah, if anything related to the program or life in Essex, I'm more than happy to answer. I'm just going to quickly drop my email address as well.
I'll leave my email address as well. So I'm in charge of the Japan market, but I'm based in Kuala Lumpur. So if they have any other questions, they can always reach out to me as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Aisha would know more entry requirements and things. You would know more than me. Yeah, so feel free to get in touch with Aisha and myself. Yeah.
大学のですね、チャットボックス見ていただけたら、メールアドレスですね、記載していただいているので、もし、ご質問ありましたらですね、こちらのメールアドレスですね、ご連絡いただけたら、と思いますので、はい。お願いいたします。はい、そうですね。もし、他にご質問がないということであれば、本日ですね、これで、ウェビナー終了とさせていただけたらと思いますので、it seems like we don't have any questions. So,
yeah. Hiroshi, what I would suggest, if you don't mind, is myself and Darshini, I'm putting you on the spot here, apologies Darshini, and Nick will be the last people to leave the meeting. Because if anybody wants to stay behind because they're not comfortable speaking or asking a question, we're always going to be the last to leave the meeting, just to let you know. Okay?
Okay.
もしちょっと少しまた話したいということであればですね、少し残っていただけるということなので、はい、今からちょっとこの、ミーティングですね、終了となるんですけれども、もしちょっと、お話をしたいということであれば、残っていただいても、少しお時間大丈夫ということですので、はい、よろしくお願いします。はい。それではですね、本日は皆様お忙しいところ、ご参加いただきまして、誠にありがとうございました。もし、エセックス大学のですね、こととか、あと弊社のサポートサービスとか、留学のご相談とかですね、ご希望であれば、ぜひ弊社にお気軽にお問い合わせいただけたらと思います。はい、弊社のウェブサイトからですね、個別の、カウンセリングですとか、あといろいろなイベントもですね、本日のイベントもいろいろと無料でご参加いただけるものございますので、ぜひご利用いただけたらと思います。はい、それではですね、本日は皆様ご参加いただきましてありがとうございます。ちょっとまた聞きたいことがある方は、ここに残っていただいても大丈夫ということですので、はい。もしちょっと、このままご退出される方は、そのままズームご退出いただけたらと思います。はい。それではですね、本日は、皆様ご参加いただきましてありがとうございました。Thank you very much for your presentation. And then I ask some students to stay if they have more questions. Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yoshi-san.
Roshi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for supporting the event today. It's very helpful.